Hello everyone, welcome to this week's video of the week. So we are talking about putting hair on this baby today and how I map out to do that. So I have Edith's head here today, and we are going to do this in series. Most people map out completely from start to finish, but I am slightly different where I map out as I go because of what I use for my technique, as in what tools I use, how I like to change things up as I go, because sometimes the hair doesn't lay the way that you originally plan it to, and so I'd really hate to have lines that were permanent that I couldn't mask. So I use a 6B pencil, and I was using it quite often. I was very lucky to have a watercolor pencil that would come off on any surface, but unfortunately it ran out, so I went to using a 6B. Unfortunately, the 6B on lighter hair colors can be seen if you don't take care to erase it properly, and sometimes it, if it's been on there for a while and the heat inside the heat sac can make the color not fully come off. So I wanted an alternative, and now that I seal my babies with a base coat layer, it gives it some grit on the vinyl, as I never used to seal where the hair would go, and I use this chalk pencil that I found at my local art store with the 6B for some areas, as you will see in a moment. So like I said, we're going to mark out her head, but we're only going to mark out in the basic areas of where I want the hairline to go, and then also where I'm going to be working today, and I will show you throughout the rest of the video what I proceeded to do on those days. I will also be sharing clips of her hair after the process of working with those lines, and I will show you how those lines have helped me set the hair up, if that makes sense. So let's get into marking off her head, and we're going to find out where the center of her head is in a moment. I am voicing over this as I had an original plan that I decided not to do, so I might be a little bit behind or ahead, depending. So we're going to use the chalk pastel or chalk pencil, and we're going to find the middle of her head, and we're going to put a dot. That's what I tend to do, and draw a line. Now my lines are never even, so please excuse them. I do end up making my hairlines quite even at the end, but I just draw dots by each ear and then try and connect the dots kind of thing. So you'll see that I will play around with things. The great thing about the chalk is that you can quickly rub it away, or with water it comes completely off. And then I just go behind the ears and follow my hairline around, and that's kind of what I do. I do the hairline around first, and then I put dots with the 6B pencil so I know where those important lines are going to be. I do apologize for the fact that this video is sped up in some areas and you might want to have a slower version of it, but it is quite a long video otherwise, so I will link my other hair mapping tutorials. I haven't really changed my style too much from that, but we're working on the crown, and I always colour that in with 6B because the chalk pastel comes off so easily with water. I always need to have those lines there. From there, I follow the swirl around, so I make sure that my direction is following how the swirl had laid out, and following in a natural gradient out from it. So it kind of looks like a flower or like a design when I'm finished. And as you can see, I have finished that now. I don't do the top of her head because that's not where I'm working today, but I will fill in the areas where I deem the thicker hairs to go, so I'm not touching those. So as you can see, I'm drawing these little lines that make it look like a flower bursting out, petals or something, and those are the areas where I won't be working on this first part in this clip. So I'm just going to be filling in those lower edges of my hairline in the back and in the sides. And I do apologize for the angle not being the best. I did try certain angles, and I thought that it would be easier if you saw from what I saw, but it meant that the head was too close. So that is the best I can offer you, and that is pretty much what this looks like here. So moving into day 2, the hairline is in. We are going to go back in because, as you can see, when I wet the hair down, all those lines went missing except for the pencil ones. So I'm just setting up where I want those lines to go, and I will be filling in those thicker areas. As you can see, again, keeping that natural gradient up into the crown area, and we've just refilled in those areas that I had marked off. I sometimes make the sections smaller just so they go quicker. And here we go. Here is the finished result of doing that for the crown area. It really gives a natural gradient into that crown and gives a really nice swirl effect as well if you follow those lines in. And then moving on to the top of her head, I always have to reapply the hairline in the front so I can see where it is. Even though I'm not going to be working with it, I like to have it there for some reason so I can kind of get a grasp of where I want the hairline to go. This baby is going to have a hairline that goes to the side, and so I wanted to see where I wanted her thicker parts on the top of her head to go. I actually fiddled around with this a lot more than I usually do because it was going so far to one side of her head. I actually really liked how that went in the end though. I think it looked really, really good on her, and I do apologize that you're not seeing me putting in those lines. I am trying to get everything on the camera, but also I can't see either with the camera in the way, so it's kind of frustrating, but I hope you get what I'm doing. I'm just drawing lines. You can erase them at any stage and reapply them wherever you want to with using some water or rubbing away at them, and that is basically how it got me to this point here. So now you can see that the top of her head is done as well, and it is sweeping that way that I set it up to go. On the final sitting, which was yesterday, we did the front hairlines, and I just follow them down and to the way that I want the hairline to go in the front. I don't like it to have a drastic curve. This one had slightly a more of a curve than I do like to do, as you can see in this area here, but it actually worked out really, really well, and I really like how her hair is gone. But generally I like to have it a little bit more natural, flowing straight, but this is what it ended up looking like, and I'm so happy with her hair. Her mum is smitten with it. I'm just, it turned out so well. So I know this is a little bit of an unorthodox video showing you how to hair map, but this is how I do it now. I do it in stages so I can change it up as I go. Otherwise it would never stay the same, and I would have lines that don't mean anything to me. Thank you so much for stopping by. Leave questions and comments in the comment section below if you have any. Bye everyone.